Contemporary Textiles, Exercise 4.3, Contemporary Textiles Research. Now, I've decided to put all my drawings into this file box, so it kind of is organised just like what I used in the organising of my archive. Now, my approach to this part of the assignment, I got a little bit confused because I didn't want to go down the route of researching textile practitioners, but obviously I needed to take on board the ideas that have been suggested to us to go down the line of colour, technique, materials, all fitting in with contemporary textiles. So I did my research with things like Pinterest, Instagram, and online contemporary textile research. I've carried over some elements. I wanted these pieces to be fragmented pieces of paper, and all of these images are just solely concentrating on layering paper, drawing on paper, because I didn't want it to become mixed media. So earlier on, my early pieces, I just kind of went into my paper archive and pulled out some pre-prepared papers that we all collect along the way. I've used the front and the back of the surfaces, and I've just generated some quite pleasing, shapes and colour, and just gone with allowing the materials to do the work for me. Wanted to just build up some confidence in this area. I did kind of I felt a little bit insecure of was I doing the right thing, but I just kind of just went with it really. So bringing across my learning so far, the drawing is kind of lots of mark making, mimicking things like the sewing machine, stitching and layering of the tracing paper. I had at this point started to look at two new artists, Sue Hotchkiss and Josh Blakewell, and looked at their line of inquiry and what they were up to in their work. I'd still taken on board some old research, Elizabeth Cousin-Scott and Kaz Holmes, with how they layer paper in their works and stitch and mark make. So all of this contributed to this textile, contemporary textile research. And this work was produced over a couple of days. So each day I was, being inventive, and then the ideas and links started to flow from there. So looking, some of the areas are bold in colour. So I may have thought, right, I'm going to go and target and look at colour palettes. I'd used some archive artwork of my own from my personal metal tin that I've previously discussed. And we can see that it replicates over here as well. So I turned that into, making fragments of it. And then just pulling out and picking, random pieces of paper from what was going on within the study and research and drawing of this assignment. Started to build up this portfolio of work. And then started developing, the areas of, I might just today focus on colour. So I'd taken, some papers that were mark made with paint, ripped them. So I'd got rough edges, which replicated fragments, and then the hard lines would repair these fragments, trying to replicate and show my understanding of what I'm learning so far within my learning process. Also as well taking on board older experience of, have a look at the back, does that inspire me at any one point? Larger scale pieces, looking at composition within textiles and fragments, placing them, stitching them, sewing them. As this project developed, I had noticed that at some point that depending on the material that I was using, they started to become a little bit more mature. So the drawing matured, the mark making matured, analysing of colour matured with accent colour, which I'd experienced in contemporary context. So these results became quite pleasing, and again these became very intuitive because again I could look at the back and look at the interesting mark making that was going on there. And looking at, you know, the boldness, still maintaining texture, layering paper, stitching down, gluing down, and slight combination here of making translations into fabric. Then through the inspiration of Sue and Josh, I just enjoyed these pieces really. Was feeling a bit fed up, so I just thought I'm just going to go bold. Played with scale. These pieces were very successful as a result. And also what has been working is just photographing them and manipulating photographs with digital imagery, which was coming up during the research. And just having a good time with the work really, simplifying the shapes, making the shapes more abstract, more contemporary. And these proved quite successful. I was getting some really good feedback, which I'm finding, which is a good source of getting feedback from other people, is the use of Instagram to promote your art, see what people think. And there were some nice comments, lovely comments off people. What I did with these pieces, I'd made a selection of photographs where I'd pieced these together, and I followed the line of inquiry with Josh Blakewell and made some warrior headdresses, some warrior masks, and it was kind of my rebel against some, what I consider some negative feedback that I've had from my, not negative feedback, but it's just the way that I was particularly feeling about my research essay. So I kind of made some masks and wanted to rebel, and I'm going to call myself the textile warrior. So I'm not going to let certain areas of my learning, I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm going to carry on and soldier on. So this finalises the video for the contemporary textile art research for drawing mark making, looking at colour, looking at composition, looking at materials and techniques.